Realme has just introduced two new smartphones that feature quad camera setups. The Realme 5 is the more affordable variant of the two, and in this video we'll be taking the camera's first spin. This is Sunny from Rev@less. Let's dive into the camera review of the Realme 5. Although both the Realme 5 Pro and 5 are being marketed and are quad camera devices technically, practically speaking they are triple camera devices. The reason for this is that the fourth camera is a 2-megapixel f2.4 depth sensor, which to be honest isn't much, and most smartphones can use the secondary ultra-wide-angle camera or the telephoto camera to help in depth sensing, or some phones such as the Pixel do it with the help of some software magic even with a single lens. The Realme 5 gets an ultra-wide-angle 8-megapixel f2.2 camera, a 2-megapixel f2.4 macro camera, just like the Realme 5 Pro. The difference mainly lies in the primary sensor, where the Realme 5 misses out on the 48-megapixel Sony IMX586 sensor. Instead, you get a 12-megapixel f1.8 camera. The main difference compared to a Realme 5 Pro is the sharpness and detail. There's fairly good dynamic range and fast focus speeds, but the sharpness and detail are much lower compared to the 48-megapixel Realme 5 Pro. This difference is especially noticed when you zoom into the photos. The photos also have slightly different processing as well. While the Realme 5 Pro tended to be warmer toned, the Realme 5 tends to be cooler. The saturation is quite on the high side, which some folks may not like, and I personally too think it's a bit overdone, so Realme should tone it down a bit with future software updates. The ultra-wide-angle camera helps to capture a more dramatic field of view compared to a regular camera. There's a difference also in terms of the saturation and color tone between both the cameras, but it's not too evident in some scenes, but in others it's more apparent. The macro camera works really well in terms of being able to focus up really close and get as close to the object or subject as possible. Here are some samples where the macro camera could capture something in focus, where the primary camera refused to focus at all since it was too close and exceeded the minimum focusing distance. But in terms of sheer image quality, the macro camera isn't too great. There are a lot of aberrations, some vignetting and weird color, but most importantly the low 2 megapixels of resolution means there isn't much detail or sharpness to work with. Still, it does help at times and is much better than having no macro camera at all. It doesn't do very well in low light conditions however. Coming to the portrait mode, the edge detection is good but isn't perfect, and the blur levels are good and the image looks good overall, but still there's some softness to a desired portion in focus compared to regular images. Low light performance is a weak point on the Realme 5 and is noticeably worse than the Realme 5 Pro as well, even in the regular mode. But the nice game mode here too helps improve it by a large margin, especially in terms of the noise levels, since the images are much cleaner looking with less noise, better details and sharpness, and also more accurate colors. But the difference between the Realme 5 Pro nightscape images and the Realme 5 nightscape images are mainly to do with the overall exposure. While the Realme 5 Pro nightscape images did help improve the overall exposure and giving a much better looking image, the Realme 5 nightscape images don't really improve the exposure all that much, and the image is still pretty much underexposed, but it's just that it looks much cleaner and better than the regular image. So if you're still looking for low light photography, the Realme 5 Pro will be a better option. The front facing camera is a 13-megapixel f2 unit housed within the notch. There's good detail and sharpness being captured, but there's noise reduction being applied, which does soften the skin a bit. There's more apparent under low light condition and also in portrait mode. Low light performance is decent but not great, as there's a tendency to have shakes if you aren't very still. There's also higher noise levels, as a tendency to get an underexposed image. Portrait mode is good with good edge detection and good blurring, and the portion in focus has more softness than in regular mode however. Camera 2 API supported out of the box with GCam mods are easy to install and work fairly well, but is still not fine-tuned for the Realme 5 itself, and as a result the current GCam ports are not too different from the regular camera. Yes, there is an improvement in sharpness and dynamic range, but the difference isn't what we generally see and what we are used to expecting from a GCam mod. The portrait mode isn't much better too, but it should get better with time. Videos can be recorded at a max resolution of 4K at 30fps without EIS, but you can also get 1080p 30fps with EIS footage, which is much more stable and looks more refined. Both modes offer good detail and sharpness, but I personally would use the 1080p mode since the EIS does make a huge difference. Video quality is good overall and there's good dynamic range as well, but there's excessive saturation and some over-sharpening happening as well, just like the regular photo mode. Hopefully these will be fine-tuned in a software update. Currently there's also no option to shoot videos with the ultra-wide angle camera or macro camera, although the latter might not have been very helpful nor of worthy quality. The front facing camera tops out at 1080p 30fps, but luckily there's EIS on board and you get some really good looking footage. This is the front facing camera of the Realme 5 capturing 1080p video at 30fps. Let me know what you guys think about the overall sharpness, dynamic range, how well it's picking my voice in this particular scenario, as well as the stabilization. Realme 5, just like in other aspects, gives you a portion of the experience of the camera that the Realme 5 Pro gives. While it's versatile in terms of the focal length and the different cameras provided, there's a difference in image quality too between both the devices. Realme 5 Pro is definitely the better choice between the two if you're looking for a camera phone, but if you're on a budget, then the Realme 5 is fairly capable as well. Thanks for watching this video. Please do hit the subscribe button if you liked it. See you again in the next one.